initiate, to ask questions, to pursue the state of your marriage, especially spiritually. You and I were responsible for that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, America, boys and girls, this is a rare episode of Not Quite There. Co-host Chris is out on this time, probably having a colonoscopy, and so you're left with just me. And so it's going to be short and sweet, and just want to share something that I think God is leading me on, but it's a big topic for all of us. It is talking to your spouse. It's asking questions, pursuing your spouse, still getting to know them over the years. It's something that we all struggle with. I am by no means perfect at this at all. For Joelle and I, we've had to get really intentional over the years on how do we keep pursuing, how do I keep asking questions as her husband and not just kind of take her for granted and just think, oh, it's okay. We know each other well and we don't have to pursue each other at all. And then I don't know about you, just the more people you get to know over time and people in relationships with each other and marriages, that's something that it's hard. It's hard for us to keep intentional and keep progressing over the years. So something I wanted to share, I think it's applicable to all of us, is that, guys, it's your responsibility as the husband at the end of the day to initiate, to ask questions, to pursue for the state of your marriage, especially spiritually. You and I were responsible for that. It doesn't mean, obviously, that our wives don't have a role and don't have responsibilities. But at the end of the day, just imagine if, Joelle and I are, let's say we're having an argument and we are both just kind of being stubborn, and I'm in one room and she's in the other room, and it's like, well, I'm not going to go first. And the other person's like, well, I'm not going to go first. It's on the husband to get up and walk towards the spouse and start the initiation of conversations, reconciliation, pursuing questions, things like that every time. So I know we may not always like that. And in our worst moments, we are like, no, they can come to us. But that is not how that works. And out of Ephesians 5, we are to love our wives as Christ loved the church. And if Jesus was anything, he was the initiator. He did everything first. Even 1 John 4:19, we love because he first loved us. So he first did things. So we are to first take those steps. So I know that's challenging, but just consider that as an honor in terms of your role to get to do that and to pursue your wife. And your wife will then hopefully respond to you in those ways. So let's boil it down to, these are 5 questions to ask your spouse every week. And let me just say before I talk about these 5, it is perfectly okay if this sounds at first like elementary and like ridiculous, and were we really going to ask ourselves these questions? I totally get it. And I totally felt this way at first. And I still at times feel that way. It feels like, do we really have to do similar questions each week? But let me tell you, the fruit with these and being intentional, they are basically like a safety net. Not only do you discover things about each other in the process, it will save you from things growing that are not being talked about on any given week. And the questions go both ways, right? It's for the husband and for the wife. And so I would really strongly recommend, these are critical for anyone in a relationship, in a marriage, to be asking these questions. We don't get them perfect. There are weeks that we miss. There have been times we look at the questions and we're like, I don't want to talk about this right now. So, give yourself grace. But I would just tell you, if you've never done something like this in your marriage, try it. Give it a shot. Give it a month. That basically means 4 weeks or so of asking these questions. They might feel really awkward and weird at first. Keep going. Just what do you have to lose by giving a shot of being intentional and asking questions just like you probably did when you were dating? What do you have to lose? I know you might be afraid of maybe what's uncovered from it, but wouldn't you rather uncover these things in your marriage than leave them unchecked to have things blow up years down the road? So, 5 questions to ask your spouse every week. And if you are the husband listening to this, you lead the charge by all means and go for it. If you are a wife listening to this, you can go for it as well. You may not have a husband who is wanting to take the lead on that, but I would strongly recommend just at least dedicating at the minimum a month and giving this a shot and just see how it goes. So 5 questions. Here we go. Number 1.
Yes!
How did you feel loved this past week? So it's a chance to review. Sometimes you can pull out your calendars, but it's your chance to look back over the past 7 days and reflect, hey, what is something that stood out? How'd you feel loved this past week? It'll be massively affirming, probably for one another. And it might be convicting, depending on what's going on. But it gives a chance to open up the door to review. So how did you feel loved this past week is a question. So these questions will be in the show notes as well. I would literally write them down. I would literally book a time on your calendar once a week. Find the right time you can have this conversation with your spouse. Stick to it. So, how did you feel loved this past week? Number 1. Number 2.
Yes!
What does your upcoming week look like? So, this is a little bit now of looking forward. So, these two are very practical, but they're not just about the calendar and events. It's how did you feel loved this past week? Okay, let's talk about that. What does your upcoming week look like? Who knows the stressors you can hear from each other, the excitement, the ways you can be thinking about each other. Take good notes. But what does your upcoming week look like? That's number 2. Number 3.
Yes!
How can I pray for you this week? So, guys and ladies, I think we like to think a lot of times that we're going to be ongoingly praying, if that's a word, ongoingly praying for each other. But if you're anything like me, this does not always happen every day and every week. And it's such a critical thing we can be doing for each other. And so it's a weekly check-in to go specifically, how can I pray for you this week? There's no telling what's going to come out of that. So how did you feel loved this past week? What does your upcoming week look like? How can I pray for you this week?
Yes!
Number 4, how would you feel loved and encouraged this week? This goes beyond prayer. So there is a way to pray, but also very specifically, this question may take some time. How would you feel loved and encouraged this week? It could be, who knows? The answer might be a simple chore or just a way to go above and beyond. Who knows what's going to come out of this question, but it's a specific, and this one will take some time. How would you feel loved and encouraged this week? What could I specifically do to love you and encourage you this week? So remember, the first week or 2 of doing this, it might feel a little tough to get the plane off the ground, but sit there in silence, think, and talk to each other. How would you feel loved and encouraged this week? The last one, number 5.
Yes!
How would you feel pursued in sex and intimacy this week? Now, at first, this question is probably going to make people laugh maybe, or even feel awkward, which they shouldn't within their marriage, but it's because we don't often get it out there on the table and intentionally ask, hey, how would you feel best pursued in sex and intimacy this week? But this is such a big deal to keep at the forefront and to be intentional and for the question to get answered, because we all know pursuit, intimacy, that type of aspect in our marriages can left unchecked, that can grow stale. That can be such a sign of the state of where the marriage is at. Is that intimacy growing or is it not? It doesn't just sit out there. It's either going in a good direction or it's going in a negative direction. And so this question at first may feel a little like it's lacking in the intimacy, but the whole point of it is to be intentional, like with anything else, because we value the sex and intimacy within the marriage. And it's not just about sex, but it's sex and intimacy. So how would you feel pursued in sex and intimacy this week? It's a specific question to get answered. And so who knows, all 5 of these may take 5 minutes. They might take 45 minutes. They might take hours. They might take someone saying, I need to reflect on this. And if that's the case, that's great. Give each other space, but decide when you're going to come back to answer that question. So if it's let's talk about it in an hour. Let's talk about it in the morning. If you need to say, let's answer it next week. But the thing is, my best encouragement to you would be, this is a weekly exercise. And if you've never done something like this before, you just give it a shot. You can spend, whether it's 5 or 45 minutes, you can sit on the couch. It could be at the end of the week. It could be on a Sunday, whether the week is kind of ending for you or the week is about to begin. After you put the kids down, it could be on a date night. It can be over the phone if it needs to be. It can be text. It can be whatever it needs to be. In person would be the best. But regardless, we're not going to skip out on asking each other these 5 questions. So, how did you feel loved this past week? What does your upcoming week look like? How can I pray for you this week? How would you feel loved and encouraged this week? How would you feel pursued in sex and intimacy this week? So that is my encouragement to you. I've just been in many conversations lately where that communication is lacking. The questions are lacking. The pursuit is lacking. The intimacy could be lacking. And it's an opportunity for us as husbands and wives to spur each other on to love and good works, but to not take our eye off the ball of, we have Jesus first as our authority, and then we look at each other, but we never take our foot off the pedal of getting to know each other and pursuing one another. So would love to hear from you. If you want to reach out to us, if you want to leave a voicemail, nqtshow.com. Let us know if you want to take this up on the challenge to start doing this. Would love to hear your feedback on how this goes. And remember, be encouraged. It could be could feel a little bit like, are we really going to do these questions? It was like that for us, probably the first, I think maybe 2 weeks. And by the time we got to week 3, we started really hitting a stride. And then it just became phenomenal for our marriage to always be proactively like right there at the ready on what's going on. It avoided pitfalls. It has been one of the best things practically we've done for our marriage to keep us kind of sharp and intentional with each other. So thank you, co-host Chris, for not being here because of your colonoscopy. Let us know how this goes. But yeah, these are the 5 questions to ask your spouse every week.
Thanks so much for joining us. Please consider rating and reviewing our podcast and hitting subscribe on whichever platform you prefer. Remember to keep moving forward because we're not quite there.